back to business. Brad Templeton over at Forbes has a pretty good article on the reality of Uber and Lyft's green ride sharing plan. And he brings up some very, very critical key points. A lot of it has to do with the fact that, the people earning money from this, and we use earning to be relatively low because we're not talking the execs, but the actual drivers are low-income people. And buying electric vehicles are very much expensive, as we have pointed out many times here. That entry-level electrical vehicle is not exactly cheap, with 30, 35,000 being a reasonable amount to spend for an EV. That's not
a candy.
A high performing. Yeah, it's not a candy. Although maybe the candies are the solution to it. The solution and the source of our next problem will be the candy fleet. But the one of the other things is that although to the people driving, that $1.50 they earn per mile as they drive is pretty good overall as an earning, they're not usually calculating wear and tear. And there's a good reason for that. Oftentimes, these are very well-maintained but older vehicles where that initial purchase price and then massive depreciation for the first few years is already out of their hair by the time they buy it. So they're getting 4- and 5-year-old used cars that are in excellent condition that they can maintain and keep clean to the standards of ride sharing. But EVs, one, buying it new tends to be the best purchase idea because the technology is up to date and they don't have to think too much about the technology and what's going to change on it. And if they're buying an older vehicle, we've gone through a number of stories where charging methods change and software updates and yada yada, and there's a lot of things that rideshare drivers just don't want to have to think about and haven't had to think about by using gas cars. So in comes your friendly neighborhood billionaire company getting you to do service work. And Uber and Lyft are thinking of things like, hey, we'll finance this new car, a new version of the car for you. And I'm sitting there and I'm reading that and I'm like, so, you're going to pay me money to drive and then I will pay you back for a car. How much am I earning? And now I don't think Mr. Templeton laid it out quite in those terms, but between the financing offers and then there's the other option, the other thing with electrical cars for ride sharing, charging stations. I live in an apartment complex. There is nowhere for me to charge my car in this complex. I would have to have not a 100-foot extension cord. I would have to have a 200-foot extension cord to charge my car where it's currently parked. How do you overcome these obstacles when we don't actually have many public charging options? Now, we've talked a lot about some of the techniques that you guys use when you do long trips in your EV cars, but how often do you see that spread out here in the city? Because I know of a couple of places where you can charge and there's only 2 spots per shopping center or public utility spot where they actually allow you to charge. There's a sizable amount of obstacles that I do not think these plans are really dealing with. And we're not even getting into, will consumers pay an extra fee to have a green car? So what do you guys think?
I used to drive an electric car for Uber.
Yeah, I was thinking of Casey the entire time I was reading the article.
Yeah. So I used to drive my Tesla Model S in Charleston for Uber and Lyft, and people did pay extra, but it was because it was a premium car. I don't know if they would pay had this been like a Honda Clarity or something. They would just want the Honda rate. And so
do you think your Tesla was basically like, they were like, oh, I'm going to get a ride in a Tesla kind of a thing?
Exactly. Like, oh my goodness, it's a Tesla. I didn't even pay extra for this. Sometimes they paid extra, and then they're like, oh wow, I didn't expect this. I expected something like a Tahoe or
Prius.
something.
But you had your own.
When you pay extra, you don't get a Prius.
But you had your own charger place.
I had my own charger, and I used my own DC fast charge. The companies did not help me.
If you lived in an apartment building, you couldn't really do that.
Yeah, in an apartment building, it would not have worked.
Well,
unless I went out
could if there was a
first.
supercharger in the town, right?
If
you're talking about a Tesla, if there was a supercharger in the town,
right.
you could certainly do
and you didn't have to pay for it, like if you had an old Model S.
Tesla's supercharger in Charleston has been coming soon since 2016, and it's still coming soon. There were EVgo chargers that I could take on my lunch breaks, and I did those. Those were fun. I signed up for the subscription, so I didn't have to pay too much. And in a really bad pinch, I could drive an hour to the nearest supercharger, come back, and still have some charge left. Yeah,
that's not good.
but the companies didn't help at all. But they did make sure to capitalize on me. It's like I'd get customers saying, "Oh, the app said that we've upgraded you to an electric car. We've provided you an electric." Some kind of greenwashing to suggest that they did it when it was all in my dime.